Welcome back. At a crowded Orioles game at Camden Yards, Luke Russert remembers his dad, Tim, pointing to a hot dog stand, saying, "Buddy, if we're ever separated, look for me there." When Tim died at 58 of a heart attack in 2008, Luke followed his father to NBC News, becoming a Capitol Hill correspondent here. But after 8 years of working in television, Luke realized he didn't have a good answer to the question of why he was chasing his father's legacy. He set off on more than 3 years of travel to 6 continents, searching for his father and for himself. And Luke Russert, author of Look for Me There, Grieving My Father, Finding Myself, joins me now. Luke, welcome back to Meet the Press.
It's such an honor, Chuck. Such an honor.
I
still get chills every time I see the logo and hear the music. It's pretty special.
I get chills introducing you right now. I'll be honest.
Thank you.
You were 22 when your dad died.
Yeah.
And it seems that you're looking back now and realize you didn't process it then.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Well, he died, and it was such a whirlwind of emotions. And we came back to Washington. My mother and I were actually in Italy when it happened, which turned out to be a little bit of a blessing because we had one day to ourselves together as a family, as mother and son, to begin to process what had happened.
He was with you
2 days before.
Earlier,
that's 2 days
right?
before he passed away at the Vatican, which is so fitting considering my father's Catholic upbringing. But when we came back, we thought that people would mourn him. We had no idea there was going to be such a national outpouring of grief. He had thousands of people at his wake. And I ended up giving a eulogy at Holy Trinity Catholic Church here in D.C. and then eventually at the Kennedy Center. And a lot of people saw that, and that sort of catapulted me into a very public, forward-facing space that I was still trying to sort of reconcile. What should I do? And I think in the beginning...
Weeks from graduating college, right?
3 weeks
just
out.
Finished Boston
3
College.
weeks. I had graduated college, and about 3 weeks later, I'm looking out over a set of pews at Barack Obama, John McCain, Ethel Kennedy, Joe Biden. It was a whirlwind.
It's still surreal to think about.
It is still surreal. And I look back on that, and I think about, man, 22-year-old Luke, you had so much courage, you had so much poise, but you never really dealt with, you lost your dad, you lost your best friend. And you went into this immediately public-facing role because you were trying to preserve his legacy the best you knew, and you were trying to bring comfort to people, but it ultimately did not bring comfort to you.
You wrote something that I thought was pretty brave about yourself. You write this: "It's apparent that I've spent so much time honoring his legacy that I've never truly accepted his death. Worse, by honoring that legacy, I failed to forge my own life."
Yeah.
That's a pretty brave thing to write publicly, buddy.
One of the things that I found going through this process was I had written out all these journals when I was traveling around the world, and I didn't know really what was in them. But when I took the time to read them, I realized I was looking for something. And what I was looking for on this journey was, who am I independent of my parents? Who am I independent of my hometown? Who am I independent of the ways of Washington? And I never was able to truly figure that out because I was so attached to Dad. He was my guiding light. He's gone. I try to stay in that lane, but I never really asked those difficult questions of, who are you? What do you want to do? Because it was greatly uncomfortable. And to ask those questions, I would have to deal with the fact that he was really gone, which was something that I just tried to conveniently power through and white knuckle and not really think about too much.
So, of all people, it's John Boehner that that sort of what did he flip a switch in your head? What did he say to you that made you say, "Wait a minute"?
I was turning 30. I lost a good friend of mine at 27, and my father died at 58. So I saw the light at the end of the tunnel. Friends were getting married, getting mortgages. So I kept thinking about, is this everything that's going to happen with me in my life? Is this really what I want? I was having anxiety around the position. There were so many days where I would white knuckle it through on television, and I didn't know why. Why is that? Why am I feeling that way? Maybe I should take some time away. And out of nowhere, John Boehner, the House Speaker at the time, who I covered rather aggressively, says, "I need to talk to you." And I thought he was going to be angry about coverage. And he takes me into his office and he goes, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Well, you invited me into your office. What do you mean, what am I doing here?" He goes, "No, what are you doing here on Capitol Hill?" You go, "You've been here 8 years. You spent all your 20s here." Because I'm the Speaker of the House, and I want to tell you something. There is a world outside of Washington. There is a world outside of this place, the Capitol. Time is a flat circle here. You could end up 50, 60 years old and not even know that time has gone by. Make sure this is what you want to do, and go out and do something else if you want. It's okay. Go learn how to do something. And part of it, I think, was that Washington can be fleeting, and the connections that you make with people can be purely political. Go out there and really understand human beings. And It was a very impactful statement because Boehner grew up one of 12 children, Catholic upbringing in Cincinnati, very similar to my father, Russert, worked his way through college. So it didn't fall on deaf ears at all. I was really shaken up by it.
So I think anybody that's lost somebody close to them, I think this is a book that can help them. You poured yourself out in this. Not easy to write about your mom. Your mom's still here.
Yeah.
Doing great. I mean, Maureen Orth is a force of nature. I love her to death. I know you do too. Yeah. How's this changed things for you two?
When one parent dies, the relationship with the surviving one for the children or the child always changes. And in my case, it was this mix of you're now the sort of man of the house. There was all these logistical things to deal with that Dad used to always take care of. But then sometimes it would, well, you're my son, just do it. So it was trying to navigate this pattern of where really are you in the structure. And also as a mom, she was more sort of the disciplinarian, where my dad was a sort of, if you go good cop, bad cop, he was sort of the easier guy to get along with at some points. But then I realized when I started traveling, because my mother was a Peace Corps volunteer at a very young age, when women, when they graduated college, really had limited opportunities. It was be a paralegal or a teacher. And she said, I want to do something else. So she goes to Columbia, goes to the Peace Corps, and it's through travel and in measuring herself against the world that she really knows who she is. And she had wanted me to do that my entire life. I had never really traveled. And it was not until I did that I understood her. She had to fight so hard for everything she got, and that is why she demanded a lot out of me, is that she said, you've got to be tough and you've got to show yourself.
Feel like you found yourself?
I think we're always a work in progress, but as it pertains to losing my father, I'm at peace with that. I've accepted it, and I'm so much better for it.
Where are you headed next?
I like storytelling. So hopefully this book does well, and that opens up some opportunities in that area.
All right, man. Nice to see you.
Thank you so much for having me, Chuck. It's such an honor.
The honor's mine, my brother. The honor is mine.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Luke.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.